Welcome back, folks. We ended out 50, NASDAQ up 6, S&P's up 4. And now, folks, let's go over to our technology expert at TFNN, our man, Mr. David White. And, folks, if you haven't test drove David's newsletter yet, the Technology Insider, you can do that by coming over to our website at TFNN, and you're going to see it right under breaking news. Outstanding newsletter. David has about 30 equities in there right now that he's going to be following. The first buy got fired off last week, and we'll talk with our man, Mr. David White, right now. And don't forget, folks, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock a.m., you can listen to him at TFNN every morning before the market opens, kicking off the market. And, of course, don't forget, folks, you can bring all of us everywhere you want to be. You don't have to go to archive shows anymore. If you have any type of phone at all, you can get on the web, a smartphone. You just go to tfnn.mobi. Bang. Streams fast right off the bat. David White, what's going on?
Well, it looks we got some action out here in the market.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll tell you. You know what's amazing? You've been talking about bandwidth, for quite a while, on your shows. But man, this week, that's all I heard everyone talking about. It's like, well, I guess it had to do with the telephone takeovers. Also, they want to take them over. But it's pretty amazing how that is the topic, and it's going to be the topic going forward, isn't it?
It is. I've gone in that white paper in two different categories, and that's capacity.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're looking at here. They need that additional bandwidth to start putting systems together that are going to be able to pass all this video and audio and everything else everybody's going to be doing with these mobile devices out there. And it comes back to internet standards and capacity. In this article, I guess the takeover on Monday was all about capacity out there. Most people don't know that what they ended up paying T-Mobile was about $1,300 per customer that they had.
Really? $1,300? So they plan on getting definitely a lot more out of them if they're going to pay for $1,300, right?
I don't know if that sounds like a good deal to me. I'm thinking that if I'm
That's
one of those
expensive, right?
Yeah, if I was one of those other companies out there, if I'm Sprint or somebody like that, boy, all I have to do is give somebody away a free iPhone. That's only $500.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That's a big number, no doubt.
But they're thinking it's worth that to actually get this market, and I guess after a couple of years, you're probably going to give them $1,300 or $1,400. But it seems to me like a very expensive proposition out there. One that they wouldn't had to do is if they would have gone ahead and been expanding all along. But they got behind the 8 ball here, and they're pretty much stuck with a fairly low bandwidth spectrum out there, and they're basically going to plug both spectrums of T-Mobile and of AT&T together to get a little wider spectrum out there so they can handle all the data that they need.
Interesting. I want to shift gears just for a second. Not necessarily shifting gears, but, and I know you're going to know a lot about this. Oracle, right? Databases, relationship servers, and all that. I know they print money hand over fist, but are they the guts of the internet? How exactly? How do they make their bread? Is it all software? How does this work?
It pretty much is a combination of two things. One is software, and a lot of it is support. They're basically making money on both ends, on the front end and on the back end when people have problems. For Oracle, they've basically, for years, concentrated only on the Fortune 500 companies. They didn't want to know anybody else. And lately, they've been, I think Ellison is probably the best CEO in America right now. Probably a horrible person, but a wonderful CEO. In that I've always said that, is it Machiavellian? I don't know what his real name is, Machiavelli.
Yeah,
maybe it's just Machiavelli. I always thought that Machiavelli probably called Ellison for advice out there, because it's he can figure 10 moves ahead of everybody else in the industry out there. He went out and bought Sun, and every single unit that Sun had out there, he's taken from kind of a loser into a winning position out there. So he's one of these few guys that goes out, plays on his boat. If there's nothing to do, he doesn't make much noise. He doesn't go out there and buy things just to be buying them and act like he's the CEO. He's extremely a good tactician out there, and he took Sun and all their free software that they were pretty much giving away,
yes,
and turned it into a barn burner of a business out there. He's even taken the Spark chips that Sun was making, and I think today or yesterday there was an article out there about how they're getting out of the titanium market that Intel was pushing. And HP was kind of making some noise about them kind of bailing on them. But they're even going to make their chip part of that whole Sun thing work for them.
Unreal. You stay right there, folks. David and I coming right back. Welcome back, folks. This is David White, Tom O'Brien. And, folks, if you want to test drive David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, you can do that by coming over to our website at TFNN. Test drive it 2 weeks absolutely free. And, folks, that Technology Insider is an investment newsletter, meaning that, this is something that is changing, is going forward. If you're a long-term investor, this is where you want to be. David, I saw today Microsoft. You've been talking about specifically these IPv4 addresses. So what did Microsoft do here today?
They went out and bought $7.5 million worth of address spaces. And for those people that haven't been listening to us, basically every computer out there that's hooked to a network has an IP address, and the standard forever has been IPv4.
Okay.
There's about 4.5 billion of them, but we've almost run out. And we've been talking about in the newsletter, we have a whole section in there of picks where we're looking at what's going to happen as we go to the new standard that has so many zeros on it. We'd be till the end of the radio show just counting them. But in this transition from IPv4 to IPv6, we're going to be running out by about September. So Microsoft went out and bought 660,000 addresses just for themselves to make sure that they're going to have some through this transition.
That's amazing.
When something that's been free forever, you're willing to pay $7.5 million for?
Right.
That's something. I think, actually, if you really figured it out, to buy a big block like that, it's probably a penny or two per address space, or it has been for 30 years.
Okay.
So now if they're going to pay about $11 or $12 per IP address, they think that there's going to be a problem out there, and they're basically getting all the old Nortel, Canadian Nortel addresses that they had when they went bankrupt, so they're buying it from the bankruptcy court, but even then they think it's worth $11 per address.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So we've had people on the show. We've talked about this whole transition out there, but I think this really puts a exclamation point on my theory that we're going to have some really disruptive markets in this IPv4 to IPv6 rollover. And in my case, I think we've got a couple of stocks that are going to do extremely well as they make chips and handle new routing that's going to be necessary just for people to use their equipment anymore.
When we're making new equipment, of course, materials, right? So talk to me. I know you were talking a bit about graphite. And what else were we talking about there?
Graphite and aerogel. These are two words that I think everybody in a couple of years is going to know extremely well.
Okay.
In 2010, the Nobel Prize went to two Russian guys who figured out how to make a new material called graphene, and it's out of graphite, which is extremely plentiful, so it's not like a rare earth mineral out there. But they showed with huge imagination how to make a new material. And graphene, if you can think of like chicken wire,
yes,
and you could put carbon atoms, and each point where the wire connected, you could put a carbon atom. And it's not in 3D. It's literally, you can make a material that is one atom thick, and I think the minimum is about 8 atoms wide. So this is a material that is incredibly exciting because it has a couple of properties. One is it almost works like a superconductor. There's almost no resistance, not like copper or silver or all the other metals that everybody knows about. And there's some really interesting reasons to do that in the materials for semiconductors.
Yes.
In fact, there was an article out this week where someone's figured out how to make traces to go in to devices using graphite, like transistors and stuff like that. So there's a ton of people in this field, and it's going to be, as everybody talks about Silicon Valley, I think there's going to be a graphene valley here in the next few years.
You stay right there. You are getting us so smart, man. I am so psyched. You stay right there, folks. David and I coming right back. Welcome back, folks. We're talking with our man, Mr. David White. And if you would like to test drive his newsletter, folks, you can do that by coming over to our website at TFNN. There's the Technology Insider. You can test drive it 2 weeks absolutely free. Let's go to Bill in New Hampshire. Hey, Bill, how you doing today?
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Doing great, man.
I'm really excited about this Technology Insider. This is fantastic. Fantastic.
You know, it's amazing, Bill, is that and when I was ended it, I says, I love sitting here and really getting to understand, what's happening in technology and because we know technology runs the whole deal.
Yeah, and the key is, like Dave White is in TFNN is doing, is to dig in there a little bit and find these new companies, a la IBD type of thing. Find these new companies and help us understand why they're going to go, why they're going to do really good going forward. A lot of us, Tom, are working every day. We can't trade in and out. We can't do this or that. We have to use somewhat of the old mentality of buy and hold, which is not working today. But in this case, I think it would work because it's been proven.
Well, it's interesting, and I agree with you, because what you have, and the reason I agree with you, like the gold report. The gold report is a buy and hold gold report, and
exactly.
It's worked for 9 years, and it's really worked well. So there are markets inside that. Well, you want to give them some feedback there, David?
Yeah, I think that what we've had is since the dot-com bust broke, we've had a real hard problem with these companies going public to gain enough money to really push these things out. And I think what we've got now is a market where some of these things are coming out, and these companies can go public and take their small company and get enough money to start going to the moon out there. And that's what we're looking at. A lot of these have been out there incubating for a while, and we're getting to a part where these things are going to start coming out. Microsoft started, in 78, didn't go public till 86, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. So they were around a long time and got to start moving. But if you put $10,000 in Microsoft in 86, I think you had $1 million in 2000.
Exactly. David, you're talking to a guy who had an Osborne computer working for a military house. I won't mention the name of it, but we had Osborne computers on our desk doing some Excel spreadsheets.
So Mr. CPM there?
Yeah. I still have it. And we saw, the different changes that came along through the 80s, late 80s, and whatnot. Of course, we just kept going with the technology. But if you knew some of these companies were out there, you could have done real well. A la like a Jim Ropel. And I want to thank you for turning me on to that. Is it John Bullock? Did I say that right? The book by John Bullock.
Oh, yeah.
He has 3 great books out. I got all 3 of them. And these guys
about how disruptive companies work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And who was investing in these companies and made some money? A la Jim Ropel, O'Neill, Barack. Some of the old timers did it that way. So, I guess I'm just excited.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun. It's so great too. It's great getting educated, man. When you have breakthroughs like David's talking about, whether it's the graphite, and like, oh my God, some of these engineers are so smart. I mean, they figure out how to basically make things even smaller. And you know what's crazy? Hey, David, I mean, Moore's Law, right? I mean, that just seems to keep going, right? And people thought that, hey, this thing can't keep going. But the reality is it does keep going, doesn't it?
Every year I hear somebody say that Moore's Law is dead, and something comes out and it pushes it just a little bit farther. But yeah, there's people coming on. I did want to finish up my just a little bit on graphene out there. It's not graphite. It's made from graphite, but it's called graphene. And that is that there's probably $1 billion a year business in semiconductors for graphene. But one of the principal parts of this news article that came out this week was that they were able to make it act like a superconductor. Now, the idea is, what if you could replace all the aluminum power lines out there with graphene power lines? There's about 20% loss in putting power all over the power grid out there. If you did, and you could actually make cables out of this graphene that had almost zero loss out there, you could have $1 trillion business.
Wow.
So there's no guarantee on that, but just imagine, aluminum's a pretty expensive product. If you can make something out of graphite, which is just hugely available out there, the processing and manufacturing of that to replace all these lines and giving everybody out there a 20% boost of power that normally is dissipated by heat in the lines out there that we see crisscrossing America, that could be huge.
Man, I'm going to start going out and buy some pencils, man.
The best story is the way that these two Russian guys figured it out. They came up with graphene with Scotch tape and a pencil.
Really?
These guys didn't spend millions of dollars or anything else. They came up with a way of making graphene with Scotch tape and a pencil, and they got $1.5 million from the Nobel Prize people for doing it. So not only were they smart, they'd been living over in the UK, teaching at I'm thinking at some college there. But not only were they smart in a way to figure out what they did, they figured out a way to do it extremely cheaply. And once everybody started playing with this stuff, it's just taken off. There's more money being spent on researching graphene right now than I think of any nanomaterial out there.
And of course, because it's the superconductivity of it makes
it's stronger. It's stronger than any known material when you put it together, too. It's like Kevlar and all the other neat stuff that's bulletproof out there put together. It's got a lot of neat properties, and a lot of these new materials, that's what they're all. They're all about properties, and I think we'll talk about aerogel when we come back.
That's beautiful, man. Well, listen, Bill, we appreciate the call, man. We appreciate the feedback. Hey, listen, the defense industry up in Massachusetts, though, that's still going good, right, in New Hampshire?
Yeah, we're going strong. We're hiring people now, Tom. We're doing pretty good here. I mean, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's coming back. We went through our period like everybody else did a couple of years ago with the layoffs and whatnot.
Right.
That's changed.
Good.
Now we're waiting for real estate to pick up, and I'm waiting for this technology stuff to go, and with TFNN and leading the way here.
Cooking with gas, brother.
You guys are taking it to another level.
Well, we appreciate you being in the family, man.
I've been with you since the Nashua days, Tom.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Well, we appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
And I used to play hockey like you.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, have a great one. Have a safe one. That's our man, Bill from New Hampshire. We got David White, Tom O'Brien. You stay right there, folks. We're coming right back. Welcome back, folks. And over at TFNN, folks, right under breaking news, you're going to see my new book with the class update and with the cities that I'm going to be in. If you do want to come to the workshop, come over there over the weekend. There's no obligation, but you can hit your city. Let us know that you will want some more information when I'm coming into that city. And we got our man, Mr. David White. We're talking about disruptive materials now. So the next material we're going to talk about is
aerogel.
And what does this do?
This is, imagine glass, like a sheet of glass out there.
Okay.
Where you suck all the glass, but still leave basically the structure alone. It's kind of like taking all the liquid out of it. Most people don't know glass is a liquid. If you leave it long enough, it'll kind of, over about 80 years, you'll see the ripples in the bottom of it, like in an old house.
Yes.
But you can actually take all the liquid out and leave leave the rest there, and it becomes something that people call its nickname frozen smoke. But basically, it feels like, as light as cotton candy.
Okay.
But it still has the structure of glass out there, very much like fiberglass insulation. It is the single best insulator in the world, and it has two purposes. One is going to be in clothing. One guy climbed to the top of what's the tall mountain out there?
Mount McKinley, Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, one of those big ones.
Okay, yeah.
No, the really big one out there in. No, I'll think about it here in a second. But the Everest. Everybody has to everybody has to climb Everest. Anyway, it made the clothes out there about 1/5 as heavy. In fact, the big problem the guy had climbing up there was it was too warm. They needed to figure out ways for people to do it. So, right now they're using it for industrial applications. It's already being made. You can go up and call and get sheets of it right now. But there's going to be some applications for it in clothing that are going to be huge. Several companies have already talked about doing it. I think most of those Everest climbers were actually sponsored by clothing manufacturers. But you're going to start seeing the production of this, I think, really starting to take off.
Amazing.
And there's other uses for it in electronics because it is such a great insulator. But imagine something that weighs like air, almost like air.
Yes.
I mean, just super lightweight, but also so insulating that it becomes a problem. Because it's too good of an insulator.
I know.
They're working on ways for these jackets to breathe a little bit better and everything else. But this guy went up there with clothes 1/5 the weight of all his companions, and still was too hot. So it's been around since 1930. No one really knew what to do with it.
Okay.
And it's one of these things that's everybody's just kind of coming back around to figuring out how important it is. But one of the things is it works very well as a way of holding various chemicals out there that are used in electronics. In fact, the company that we bought this week uses aerogel in some of their products out there as the insulator in their products. So these things can be made extremely thin. They have very good properties out there, and they are very light, which has become a big issue. If you're building things, let's say like cars now, and they're going to run on batteries, if you can replace some of that real heavy stuff with stuff that weighs almost just a little bit more than air out there, has great insulation properties. You can get the weight down on a lot of these things out there in aviation, in electric cars. So it's one of these things that just doesn't have one applications.
We can do a new car for Daytona 500, man. Put a nice 427 in there. Get some of that aerogel, little kerosene, boom. Listen, folks, come over to our website at TFNN. You can test drive David's newsletter right here, right now. David, thank you so much for the education, man. Awesome show, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. Folks, have a great weekend, safe weekend. Look forward to speaking to you on Monday. Go get them, folks.